Saving is understood as the action of setting aside a portion of one's income in order to save it for future use, whether for a planned or unforeseen expense, or for some other purpose. However, we don't always save, and many times it's because we find it hard to start, because we don't have the habit. But don't worry, the good thing is that there are a lot of saving methods that can help us. That is why today we would like to introduce you to 3 saving methods to form this habit. Number 1. The 30-day challenge. The challenge is to save a small amount of money every day for 1 month. But the interesting thing is that each day we will have to set aside a slightly larger amount of money than the previous day. For example, the first day of the month, as it's the first day, we can set aside $1. The next day 2, then 3, and so on until the day 30. Following this logic, at the end of the challenge we will have saved $465. If you think it's a lot of money and you will find it hard to get it, it's okay. You can start with smaller amounts, because the main point is to acquire the habit. In order to do so, it's important not to skip the days, because although it might not seem so, by repeating the same action every day is how we will form the habit. In addition, it's also advisable to have a notebook or a paper nearby to write down the dates and the amount saved. In this way, we will feel more motivated to see that as the day passes by, we will have been consistent. Here, it's also worth saying that if we save every day at the same time or after the same activity, we will form the habit faster, since it becomes routine. According to experts, forming a habit takes between 18 and 254 days, depending on a number of factors, but it's considered that on average, the habit is acquired after 66 days of repeating the same action, about 2 months. In other words, in our case, it will be convenient to repeat the challenge to make sure we form the habit. If you are interested in knowing more about the study, I leave the link in the description box. Number 2. The 52-week challenge. This method is quite similar to the 30-day method, but in long term, since here we propose to save the equivalent number of weeks in a year. Similar to the previous case, in the first week we save $1, 2 in the second week, and so on until the week 52. This system of saving is gradual, in addition to being a greater challenge, since it lasts 1 year, and at the end of this, we will have saved $1,378, which again, if you find it too much money, it can be done with the smaller numbers. Both the 30 days and the 52 weeks challenge have their variance in reverse. We start by saving the highest value first and the smallest later. In the case of the 52 weeks, if we do in reverse, we should save $52 the first week, then $51 the next one, and so on until we save $1 the last week of the year. As in the previous method, it's advisable to write down in a notebook the days and the values saved in order to keep track of our progress. Number 3. The 50-20-30 rule. It's a simple method for those who already have the habit of saving and want to save a considerable amount of their income. This method proposes to allocate up to 50% of the monthly income to cover basic needs, such as housing, food, transportation, education, and other essential expenses. Once the important expenses have been covered with that 50%, we should set aside the 20% of the income to save it. To encourage this, it's advisable to set aside the money as soon as we receive our pay, as in this way we avoid the temptation to spend it. And finally, the last 30% will go to the personal expenses, fun and leisure. That is to say that there is no limitation here, it is money to spend on what we like the most. It's certainly a method that, if well applied, will allow us to save a lot of money. But at this point, it's necessary to clarify something. In general, these methods work quite well to start saving and form the habit. However, if you live in a country with high inflation, these methods are not the most suitable, since over time, inflation will destroy our savings. If you would like to know the best ways to save with high inflation, we leave you a video explaining it in the cards. Now we would like to know your experience. Do you know other saving methods? You can leave us your answer in the comments. If you think this content can help a friend or a family member, it might be a good idea to share it. And if you like the video, we invite you to like and subscribe to the channel to continue learning about this financial universe.